Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new Stephen King podcast. This is episode 75, and as usual, I am here, Lilja, and Lou is here with me. Hello.
Hello, constant listeners. Hi, Hans.
Hi, everything's good with you?
Everything is A-OK.
Great. Summer is here, and this time, this podcast, we are going to review the new Stephen King book, Gwendy's Button Box, that he wrote with Richard Chizmar from Cemetery Dance. So hopefully you have all read it and can follow our review. But as usual, we kick off with the news.
Welcome, welcome. Do not fear the door that lies before you. We will protect you. We are your guides, Hans and Lou, and we will give you the latest in Stephen King news. But before we do so, you must prove yourself worthy. You must open the door and join us in the DeathRoom. That's right. And we were going to do this last podcast, but I guess it slipped through the cracks. But as you all are probably well aware by now, there was a second It trailer that was released during the MTV Music Awards. And the second trailer was quite a bit different in concept than the first one. It had more of a character sketch scene, I guess you could say, for some of the characters from the Losers Club. And I really liked that scene. I thought the sewer pipe scene was really well done. And then it has a couple of quick montages, and we sort of got our first full-on look at Pennywise, though I didn't really understand the triangle of balloons that much. But I'm curious to what you thought about that trailer, Hans.
I liked it, but I didn't think it was so much a trailer. It was more a clip of the movie, because it was a very long scene when they were in the sewers. And usually trailers, I think, show more short clips from all over the movie. So, but it was definitely a good clip, and I definitely want to see the movie, and it's very interesting. But it was a kind of different trailer, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was more of a sneak peek into one of the scenes. So I think the character so far that really stands out to me from both these trailers, and that obviously that should change when we see the movie, is the actor that's playing Eddie, because he seems to have all the fun lines so far with the gray water and all that stuff. So
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. And my understanding is that even though we haven't seen it too much in or anything in these trailers, that the Bill character will stutter in the movie as well. But they just didn't want to bog the pacing down of those trailers with that. So that's good to know as well.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna skip on that, because that's a big part of his character. So that's definitely gonna be there.
Yeah, hopefully. It's very important. And I'm rereading it. I'm at 80% now. Hope should be done in the next week or so. And it's interesting watching the trailers and with now some context, and the miniseries with some context based on what happened in the book. And the miniseries actually covers off quite a bit of what was in the book. I'm surprised, but it's just the shortcomings of the TV code of the era and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see how much of this material in the book is going to get into this movie. I still think they're going to have trouble getting everything in, but I hope that they are able to get in as much as possible. So we'll have to see. Maybe there'll be more flashbacks with the kids in part 2 incorporated as well, because I think like 3/4 of the book seems to be mostly focused on the kids, really. But
yeah. I was just going to comment on that, because I'm also re-listening to the book. I'm actually listening to the audiobook, and I think I'm on CD 26 of 35 or something like that. So I have like 9 or 10 CDs left. But I also get the impression that most of the things happen to the kids. So my guess is that the first movie will be definitely on the kids, and I think a big part of the second movie will also be about the kids in combination with the adults.
Right.
And that will be interesting to see how they manage to keep, as far as we know, they haven't started, or they won't be starting shooting the movie for quite some time now. They need to cast it and stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see how they can make the kids look the same as they do in the first movie. That'll be a challenge.
Yeah, especially since they're all just before puberty, and by the time they get to the second movie, they'll be hitting it. So,
yep.
Yeah, that will be interesting, unless they've really thought ahead and already filmed some of those scenes. But I don't see how they could do that without a script having been written yet. And if they've done that, that's a very well kept secret. But it's almost imperative that the kids make up a large portion of the second movie as well. From the way I'm reading the book, it's going to be difficult to not have them in flashback scenes, even if this first movie is supposed to cover off most of their stuff.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting as well to see how, I mean, they could make the second movie almost a standalone movie if they use footage from the first movie as throwback, or when they look back at stuff that happened when they were kids. So, but I guess we'll see when that's done, because hopefully I think the second movie will be done. I think this first movie will earn enough money to make that happen.
Sure, looking like it. Those trailer views are pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, when we're speaking about it, the documentary of the first version, the TV show, is going on, and they have reached, as we mentioned in the last podcast, they did a crowdfunding about it and asked for money, and they have definitely reached their goal. They have passed it and are now aiming to get any more money so that they can make it even better. And as a last-minute thing, they have thrown in a package of, if you donate £350, I don't exactly know the difference between pounds and dollars, so I don't know exactly how much that would be in dollars. I think it will be a little bit more than 350.
I think it's like double.
Okay. So then you'll get Pennywise Blu-ray, Pennywise T-shirt, social network thanks, and a signed Tim Curry photo. I don't know how exclusive that is, but I'm guessing he isn't signing that much now. And there's only 3 package like that.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to get that, you should definitely head over to the site and do it quickly. Because when this podcast air, I think there will only be a couple of days maybe left until it ends. So head over there if you're interested.
Okay, so turning to other news. So for those of you who are asking when we're going to talk about the second It trailer, we've now done that. So
yes.
You're welcome. Turning to more current news, first post that you'll see is June 1st at the back of the beginning of the month. And we have the Cemetery dance covers for Sleeping Beauties. One for the gift edition, which is the one with shows the fox. And I don't know if those are tree roots or something like that. It's almost like tentacles, but there's a flock of birds. Yep. I think that's supposed to be tree roots. And then the limited edition cover is the one with the moth. And that's also has a fox, and it looks like squirrels maybe, or rats.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I'm not quite sure. So we've seen this moth theme before, so I'm still thinking about this metamorphosis component to the story. But this whole thing with the animals, I don't know if this is Mother Nature coming into it. Maybe this Eve character, the only woman that hasn't gone into a cocoon, is able to communicate with animals or something. I don't know, but very interesting. Pretty striking covers, and hats off to the artist and Cemetery Dance for what they've got there.
Yeah, and we also have a new excerpt from the book that was released. And I can't wrap my head around this book really, because so far we have had 3 excerpts. We had one really short. We had this one, and there was one also very short released at book event that King and Ovum was.
Yeah, the Book Expo.
Yeah, exactly. So we have 3 there, and if you read those, they are quite different. I almost get the feeling that they are like from different books or something like that. So I can't really wrap my head around what this book is going to be like. And also, when you look at the covers, they are beautiful, but they are very. You can't really read anything from them. They would probably make very much sense once you have read the book. I have no doubt about that, but before you have read the book, it's not like sometimes the cover really tells you everything you need to know about the book. So that is good, I think, because it doesn't reveal anything about the book. But it's also a bit frustrating when you try to get a feeling of what the book is about and everything like that. So, but I guess that means they've succeeded, because you want to build up that expectation from the readers, and that they want to find out what it's all about, because they can't do it just for look at the cover.
Okay, well, you've got me intrigued, because I have to confess I have not read any of the excerpts.
Oh.
I've decided to go into this one blind, so you'll have to be the eyes and ears for this one. But I just don't really want to know any more about this book than the title and the concept.
Yeah, you have to know one thing though, that the one, and then it's really not a spoiler, but one of the characters' name is Lilja, Lila.
Oh, Layla.
Yeah, Layla. Yeah, and I'm keeping it in my mind that he spelled my name wrong, so it's just a J missing there.
Yeah. Okay, well, if it's a woman, then you're really going to have some identity problems.
Yeah, but I take that to be a character in King's book. It's worth it.
Well, yeah. I already had my turn in Pet Sematary, Lou Creed, right?
Yeah,
so,
yep.
But he didn't meet a very good end. So.
No.
All righty, so there you go. What's up next?
Yes, also Sleeping Beauty, the tour that they are doing. We know, we have the dates. We mentioned those earlier, I think in the last podcast. There are 5 dates in the end of September and 5 dates in the beginning of October. And we also know now that none of those stops will be a regular signing, which means that there won't be a signing where you stand in line to get your book signed from Steve and Owen. Hopefully there will be, and probably there will be, pre-signed books. And at the last tour, there were 400 books at each stop that were signed ahead. And when you, I think it was when you exited the event after it was over, you had the book, because you buy the ticket and that includes one book. And the books were given out after the event, and if you were lucky, you could get one of the signed books, and if not, you get a regular book unsigned. So that seems to be the thing that they will do on this tour as well.
Right.
And we don't know, it hasn't been confirmed that there will be pre-signed books, but there has always been before, so I would be very surprised if there weren't. But we haven't got any confirmation on how many signed books. Just at last tour, it was 400 at each event.
Right. And here's some breaking news. I know that you, Hans, are running a campaign to fund your trip to go see Stephen King and Owen King.
Exactly.
And you seem to be doing well with that.
Yeah, I have almost gotten halfway.
Awesome.
Get the money that I need. So hopefully I'll be able to travel over to the US and attend one of the stops.
Right. And here's a surprise I haven't told you about yet, is I'm probably going to go see him in Toronto.
Ah, cool.
So I talked to my wife about it because I feel bad taking trips like this without family, but it just happens to be around Thanksgiving in Canada, and I haven't seen my dad in a couple of years, so I thought this would just make a perfect time to go. So I'm looking forward to that, to see my dad, and to see Stephen King as well, and Owen. And I'll be very interested to hear what he says, given the current climate in the U.S. versus Canada. Because the last time he came to Toronto, he said if there was a God, he said then Maine would be the extra province of Canada. So I'm wondering what kind of smart remarks he's going to make at the Toronto showing. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So that should be exciting.
That's great. And that means that all of you listeners will get firsthand reports from the signings. And of course, we will cover everything. And usually during these tours, there's usually some news about something new coming out. Maybe a short story, maybe a book, something like that. Because we don't know what's going to happen after Sleeping Beauties. We don't have any info on upcoming books. But usually there's some stuff revealed during this tour.
Yep.
So that will be good.
Yes.
But that is far in the future.
Well, it'll get here quicker than you think. But it is a ways off. And my sights are still set on the Dark Tower movie.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot closer.
Yeah, August is not that far away now. So that's good. Now we're moving on to Gwendy's Button Box. And June 9th, you'll find the article on Hans' site. And they are releasing the Button Box as well in the UK. And that will be hardcover edition June 27th. The ebook and audio digital downloads were just released at the time of this article. And the audio version has a bonus. It includes the Stephen King story, The Music Room. And it also has a conversation between Stephen King and Richard Chizmar, which I believe you've linked to elsewhere on your site.
Yeah, the US audiobook also has music room and the conversation. So I guess that's probably the same audiobook that they are releasing. It's read by I don't remember her name now, but she was in Sons of Anarchy. If you watched that show.
Yes, I saw it. Was it Maggie Sylph or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And she does a very good job reading it. I just listened to it last week.
Right.
And I must say also that Music Room it's a wonderful story. I think it's very short, and King still proves he's the master of storytelling in it. I think that's one of the very best short stories he's done. I think that's a masterpiece.
Cool. Yeah, I have quite enjoyed the Music Room too. It's an amazing story he got from that picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up is Mr. Mercedes. There's now an official site out that popped up from actually nowhere almost. And it has a lot of stuff that you can check out on it. It has 2 short clips from it. I think they're just about 15 seconds each that you can check out. They have behind the scene photos. They have photos from the show. They have all the characters, or not all the characters, but the main characters. Pictures of them and a little bit about them. They have about the creators of the show. And there's a lot of cool photos there as well. So you should definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's all about multimedia today. I don't think the average person will check these kind of things out, but obviously the fans will go for it. And there's also another photo that you put up, Hans, on June 4th, which shows Hodges eating a meal with. I recognize the actress. She was on 2.5 Men. She played the mother, I think.
Yeah.
So I can't remember off the top of my head what character. I think is she playing.
She's actually listed on the official site. She plays Ida Silver.
Okay, so she was a Mercedes owner, wasn't she? Or
no, that's not her. I think actually that this is a character that isn't in the book that's been put in here.
Okay.
Or maybe she's just very little in the book.
Right, because in the picture it looks like they know each other because they're sharing a meal together. There's glasses of wine on the table and whatnot. So, okay, good. I thought it was just, I was having a senior moment because I'm trying to figure out who is that character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I read the book, but yeah.
Yeah, if you check on the official site, it says Ida is Hodges' outspoken next-door neighbor, a woman who prides herself on all things aesthetically pleasing, be in her rose garden or her naked body. Ida tells it like it is, regardless of whether or not Hodges wants to hear it.
Okay, so then she's acting like a sounding board for us to get into Hodges' head. Okay, that's cool. Probably a good move. I hope she doesn't end up with a Bill storyline like from 11/22/63, but we shall see.
Yeah. And there's, if you really want to check out the photos from Mr. Mercedes, there's a ton of them coming out, both from this official site and other places as well. They are really, really doing it now with all the photos. You have the poster as well, which I think is really great, of Bill and Brady.
Right.
And
we're having trouble with names today, people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's one of those days when names.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I mentioned in a news post I did on June 6th, and I will quote myself because this is basically the only thing I can say. I will quote myself, and I said, I just saw the pilot of Mr. Mercedes, and the first 8 minutes are among the best I've seen in a long time. It's gruesome, it's cruel, but it's so good.
You have a dark soul, man, my friend.
Yeah, you know me.
Well, that's good to hear because a lot of the people that were behind Under the Dome are behind this as well. And we can see on the picture that you posted on June 8th about the site that there's a picture of Stephen King with Jack Bender, who, of course, worked on Under the Dome as well as Lost. What I really find interesting is that I assume that they're looking at the script and they're using an iPad to do it, which is, I guess, just showing that paper scripts are maybe not be as common as they used to be anymore either. So that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. 3 new shorter Dark Tower trailers were posted a few days ago. And there's one called Earth, one called Night, and one called Man in Black. and I don't know if there's that much new footage in them. I think they have reused most of it and recut it. There is one scene where Roland is sitting in a hospital bed. I think it's his foot or his leg or something. But otherwise, there's mostly recut stuff from what we have seen already. But it shows that we are getting nearer the premiere of the movie, and now they're really starting to put stuff out there. We had to wait for it until anything happened, but once it did, seems like they are making up for lost time now.
Yeah, these 3 TV spots are really just largely just sections of the full-blown trailer that they released cut up for TV. My thoughts are mixed on them because they're so short. If this is your first exposure to the Dark Tower, I don't think you'll have a clue as to what the movie's about. Whereas the trailer, I think, does a really good job of explaining it. And that's part of the problem the Dark Tower has, is that it is such has so much mythology behind it. It's like expecting people to know Lord of the Rings before they go into the movie almost. So I think these TV spots are actually confusing. And it also throws one worry into me, that hospital scene that you were referring to. If we're to take that to be the aftermath of when he falls out of the window, that's a long fall. And I don't want them to turn Roland into a Superman or a superhero. I want him to have this. Yeah, he's got the gun skill set, but let's not make him Superman or something like that. I don't want him to go that route, and think they're pushing it a little bit with that. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, they're gonna, maybe in context. Maybe there's something that we missed or we're not seeing in that fall. But that's a couple of story fall from a window. Like, you just don't get up and walk away from that. So maybe he lands on top of the other guy and breaks most of his fall, I guess. I'm hoping. But that does worry me a little bit, that they're making Roland into a superhero, and he's not a superhero comic book character.
Yeah, and we don't really know, since there's just short clips here. That could be from something totally different as well, why he's at the hospital. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yes. But another toy was released, and this one actually gives us more detail than a lot of the other things that we've seen, because it names this character and calls it's another Venomate's final figure. So there's apparently characters in the movie called trackers, and I don't know if these are some sort of the Taheen, or I don't believe they can be slow mutants, because slow mutants live in the dark, for one thing, and they're slow for another.
Yeah.
So, and again, these figures don't give you a true representation of the character, but that one that you've got on your website, it makes him look like an evil elf or something like that. It's like his boots have got snow or fur along the trim. I do like the pouch, though. I think that's pretty cool. They definitely look way more menacing in the movie, because we see them in the movie for a couple of seconds as well. And when they're coming over the hill and the one guy stops and he's got the knife on his chest and that. So it'll be interesting to see how these are like the orcs, I guess, of the Dark Tower universe. But we'll have to see how they play out. Yeah, it looks
like vampires almost.
Yeah, almost like vampires. But
the comments I've gotten from posting this is that one ugly creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, on the picture, I can't really tell if the picture shows the finished thing, or if the head of it is just drawn just to illustrate what it might look like, because it doesn't look that good now, I think. So hopefully this is just a prototype.
Yeah.
And they are showing off. So
I like the pouch, though.
Yeah. Maybe you can remove that and keep that.
Okay.
Yep. Next up is something called the Cover Collection, which will be released from Suntop Edition. And we talked to them about the Eyes of the Dragon art portfolio in an earlier podcast. And now they are doing prints of the covers for some of King's books.
Original covers.
And this will be something that will go on. So more covers will come. The first 3 that will be released is from Misery, Pet Sematary, and The Shining. And I actually got these 3 in a promo package last week.
Sweet.
And they look beautiful.
Yes, especially Misery. I love that cover.
Yeah, and they are really good in how they present them and stuff like this. So my only concern with this is I don't really know where I would put this.
You'd have to frame it and put it on the wall.
Yeah, and you can actually get them framed in your subscription, if you subscribe to this, you can either get them just on paper, or you could have them framed in a couple of different styles of frame. But if I was single and living on my own and could decide for myself what I would put on my walls, I would definitely put this up. I don't know if the rest of my family would enjoy to have all this Stephen King art on the wall. So
yeah, I don't think mine would.
no, so I would have some problem with just having. I don't remember how many there was supposed to be when the subscription is filled. But having a lot of them on the wall could be some problem for you if you have a husband or wife that isn't really into Stephen King. But they are really beautiful as art or as images themselves.
Yes. I think most of these are in the Art of Darkness too, aren't they? I can't remember if all of them are, but some of them are for sure.
Yeah,
so
they should definitely be there as well.
I mean, and this is the thing. Like if I'm trying to buy Stephen King books, these are the covers that I would want to get them with, because I think the new ones are just frankly horrible. But
yeah,
they're just so minimalistic, and some of them look like a kid drew it with a crayon. But these are classic covers. Like that Misery cover just tells you everything with just a gorgeous cover. And the Pet Sematary and the Shining are pretty awesome too. But for me, the standout is the Misery one. I just think that's a fantastic cover.
Yeah,
very moody.
Yeah. And I really like to see them without the text on them.
Yes.
Just as an art, or a framed picture on the wall. So I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So you should definitely check that out if you have some space that you want to fill.
Right, and they're releasing them in various sizes too. Some of them are like very like landscape, large picture type things that you would have to frame. And other ones you can keep in a tray, and they're more like, I think 8.5 by 11 or something like that, or 11 by 14. But there's 3 different sizes. So, and of course the price goes up correspondingly.
Yeah. And I hope they have a plan to ship them all over the world, because I don't know in the US, but the Swedish post office isn't always the best to handle stuff like this and having them survive. It's hopefully they won't have too many returns for the post office breaking them.
Right. All right. So we have one more news story, and that is related to Joe Hill, who is, of course, part of the King clan. And that is the news from AMC that they're looking at developing a Nosferatu as a TV series. And I would assume this would be a mini-series. I don't think it would be an ongoing series, though it does say TV series, according to the report from Bloody Disgusting.
Yeah, I think AMC usually what they do is they make a season with 6 episodes, and then they see how that works out, and if it's a success, they add another season that might contain 12 episodes and stuff like that. So I think the first thing, if I would guess that we will get a 6-episode season.
Right. But do you see where would they go after that? Like, I'm not sure. Like, to me, this is a mini series. It's not a ongoing series, but I guess we'll have to see where they're going to take it after they finish adapting the book. Or maybe they're not even going to adapt the book. They're just going to use it as a jumping off point. But the fact that they're going to a series for this idea, I'd be very curious to see where they're going to go with it.
Yeah. I would guess that they would, maybe if the 6 episodes would cover the book, and then they would leave like an open ending, and if it's a success, they can carry it on.
Or maybe it's just going to be like the Mist, just the TV series, maybe just inspired by it and taken in a different direction. I don't know. Yeah.
And what's interesting, I actually learned something from posting this, because I was asked if it wasn't NOS4 and then an R and a 2.
Yeah.
And I would say no. The the second from the last should be an A.
Yeah.
Apparently it's spelled with an R in the British version and an A in the US version. I had no idea about that. So
wow, that's up by. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah, it's like whereas like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released with that title, here in the British version it's the Philosopher's Stone. So there's some cultural differences between the way R's and A's are used that just made Nosferatu use an R for the UK version versus the A in the North American version. So
It hasn't been translated into Swedish, but it will be fun to see what it will be called here. Probably Dracula or something like that.
Vanity plate. Dracula's vanity plate.
Yep.
All right. And I think that's the news.
Yes, it is.
This is great. What's our job? We'd like drive around, pick up stiffs or what?
It's time for reviews from the night shift.
And now we move on to Gwendy's Button Box. And this is a collaboration between King and Richard Chizmar, who is the owner of Cemetery Dance. Most of you have probably heard about in one or the other way. And this one was to me a big surprise. It happened... It all started with Richard teasing about having something to tell on his, I think it was on his Twitter account. And usually, or a lot of the times when someone say stuff like that, you get your expectation up very high, and then it turns out to be something maybe not so interesting as you were hoping for. I'm not saying that it's always that way, but sometimes it is. But this time it was a really great news. And when he revealed what it was that he and Stephen King has written a book together. It's quite interesting when he describes how it happens that he knows King on a personal level, and they talk, and King mentioned that he had a story that he couldn't finish. So Rich mentioned that, if you want me to look at it, you can just send it over. And I think maybe, I don't remember, but a couple of days or a day or so later on, an email came and there was the story. And King basically said, do what you want with it. And I can imagine how that would feel. I mean, Stephen King giving you a short story to finish.
Yeah, really, eh?
Yeah, and I mean, even Rich is an author in his own rights, so he shouldn't have any problem writing a good story. But I mean, Stephen King, for God's sake,
Yep.
he's giving you a story to write. But he did it, and they sent it back and forth. And I don't think they worked on it that long. I think he mentioned that they were working on it for maybe a month or something like that. And they released it in a hardcover by Cemetery Dance. And it's not very thick. I think it's 167 pages.
4.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
So, and it's basically on the limits for what can be, its own book. It's a pretty big text in it and stuff like that. But it's a nice book, and you read it in 1 or maybe 2 sittings, depending on how much time you have. And what did you think about it? You read it just today or yesterday?
Last night, because yesterday my Nocturnals reader box came in, which was a Stephen King special. And so I've got the limited edition cover from Nocturnal Readers, and it's a really nice cover. It shows a path going over the hills, and it says, "Welcome to Castle Rock" on a stone gate. And then you see the bowler from the stories blowing down the path. So I think it's a really nice cover.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy with it. And I sat down and I read it last night in one sitting. And I've read Richard's Long December omnibus collection. And so I'm fairly familiar with his writing. And I have to say that this story doesn't feel like it has 2 voices. So they've really done a good job of blending their writing styles together. And as to the story itself, I enjoyed it, but I have trouble with the basic premise of the story. And maybe you can help me out, Hans, because the antagonist of the story is Richard Ferris, who, as we all know, is the Man in Black. So he gives Gwendy this box that has the power to do really bad things. But she has a lot of self-control, and she never really uses it for anything bad. And he seems happy about that. And that confuses me, because I would think that as the Man in Black, he would want somebody that would really mess things up. So I was confused about the premise of the story. Did you have any problems with that, or am I just missing the point with this story?
Yeah, it's a good observation. I really didn't think about that. I did think about that, him being Randall Flagg, but now that you mention it, it's a very true observation.
Right.
Maybe he was interested to see that there was actually someone that didn't pull all the buttons and create chaos.
Yeah, but he never does anything with her. He just takes the box and leaves. I didn't get it. Yeah. So the only thing I could think of, and it's not explained in the story, is that he's just hoping that he can find these kind of people, because then this box really gets filled up with all this unused negative energy so that he can take it and use it somewhere else. But that's never explained in the story or even hinted at. So yeah, like I enjoyed reading the story, but by the time I got to the end of it, I'm going, well, why does Randall Flagg seem like the good guy in this story? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know. I'm hoping that if you can't explain it to me, Hans, that maybe one of the readers out there can explain to me. Maybe I'm totally, maybe just because I read it last night and it hasn't sunk in properly, but I'm going like, I don't get why he's happy that she was a good person. Like he wanted to corrupt her and he failed. He should be angry. So yeah, I was confused about that.
Maybe this isn't Randall Flagg. Maybe it's just the same initials.
Well, Richard Ferris is a pseudonym for Randall Flagg, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's him. And he hasn't aged.
Coincidence. Someone with the same name. Coincidence. His brother, maybe.
Well, then they should have explained that because you're led to believe it's the Man in Black. They even say that he hasn't aged since the last time when she saw him as a child. So yeah, I don't know. Like I liked it, but I just have a problem understanding the bad guy.
I have to confess that I didn't really pick up on that when I read the book, but now that you mention it, I can't forget it.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin it for you or for other people. But,
thanks for ruining the book for me
now. Yeah, it's my job.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, but that's very interesting. Hopefully someone will comment on that about this when we publish this podcast, because I haven't heard anyone else bring that up either. So either you are extremely smart or we are missing something.
Or I'm very stupid.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's more the latter than the former.
Very smart or very stupid. Help us out.
Yeah,
what is it?
I go, but why is he the good guy in this story? Like he's tempting her like the devil, right? Maybe that's what the parallel. It's like a parallel to the giving somebody the apple, but then you think he would be upset that they didn't take the bait by and large. So, and he went out of his way to make her not feel guilty about the Jonestown, and she thought that was her fault, and he made her not feel guilty about her former best friend committing suicide and all this stuff. So it's like, wow, he's really having a nice spell here.
I'm actually going to send Rich an email asking about this.
Oh, okay.
I won't be able to sleep tonight if I don't get this clarified.
My stupid co-host doesn't understand your story. Can you explain it to me so I can explain it to him?
Yeah, I'm writing now. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep.
So somebody out there help me.
Yep. Besides that little side note, what did you think about it?
Well, if I can divorce that from it, I thought it was pretty cool. I like the temptations that she went through. And even though she obviously had the opportunity to misuse the box, she showed her worth as a character, that she didn't really stray too far from it, and she never really went crazy with those silver coins. And now I know what that silver coin in the Nocturnal Reader's Box is all about. When I was looking at that last night and going, oh, this is kind of interesting. I have no idea why it's what it's representing, but it's actually referencing Gwendy's button box. So I mean, she hardly spends any of the coins, and she goes through some pretty bad stuff with her friend and then her fiance. So it's felt like a tip of the iceberg story. I think this really could have been a novel. Yeah. I think there's enough there. And maybe it would have cleared up this stupid question that I'm having. But it was well written, and it was a quick read, and I was enjoying it while I was reading it. So, yeah, a good job by both writers.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said, you couldn't really see who wrote what in it. And I think that is very important when you have two authors collaborating, that you can't really see who's written what.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting in the story A Tall Grass, or in the Tall Grass, where King and Joe Hill is collaborating. I have no insights on this, so I'm just guessing, but it was published in 2 parts in a magazine, and those parts are very different.
Yeah.
In style. I can't remember exactly, but I think one of them is very much more gruesome than the others, or something like that. And I don't know if that is the case, but there you really got the feeling that one author wrote the first one and another one The other wrote the second one.
Right. And if I had to guess, I'd say King wrote the first half and his son wrote the second half.
Yeah, that's my guess as well. And I have no idea if that is the case, but
right, me either.
I prefer that when you read something that's written by two authors, that you can't see who wrote what. And I think that it's a great example of that.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Maybe because I've read Richard's omnibus edition, but I'm willing to bet that the section of the book where she brings the coins to the fair to see how much they're worth, I have a feeling that section was written by King, just because of the way he describes the old man and his interactions with Gwendy. That just seems like such a King kind of character to me. And I think the attack on her fiancé was written by Richard. I have no solid proof of that, but I just, based on the writing styles of the two, I would be not surprised if that's turned out to be which sections they wrote. What do you think about that? Because you would think, I think a lot of people would think the more violent section was King's section, but I'm not so sure in this particular case.
No, and I think that I'm not totally sure that when they wrote this, I think that they sent it back and forth very much. So I think that they, if one of them wrote like 10 pages, the second one went through those 10 pages, made some changes, added a couple of pages, and it went back. So I think that maybe you can't say that this scene was written by one and this scene was written by one. I think that maybe they are involved in the whole book together.
Yep, quite possible.
So, yeah. But I enjoyed it a lot as well. Once again, King really shows that he can write characters. I had some problem with Gwendy's name at the beginning. It's being a non-English speaking person. That's very strange spelling. And
okay, Gwendolyn.
I had some trouble remembering exactly how it was spelled. So, or maybe that's me being stupid.
It's an old-fashioned name. That's.
Yeah. But they explained it that it's a mix of Wendy and I don't remember what they said. Wendy and
Gwendolyn, I think. Wendy and Gwendolyn.
Yeah. So there's an explanation why that is quite. For me, it's a very unusual name. I haven't heard anybody having that name before.
I've heard it, but it's an old name. You don't hear it very often anymore.
Yeah. And I was also a bit surprised when I started reading the book, because all the while, until I had the book in my hand, I expected it to be like a box filled with buttons, like that you saw on clothes.
Yes, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a bit surprised at first when it was actually a box with button that you could press. So I wasn't really prepared for that one. So, but it was no problem. So, but it showed how much I know.
Yeah, it's a variation of like his cookie jar story. And if you've ever seen the movie or read the short story The Box, where you're not supposed to look inside the box, so it's the same idea, right?
Yeah.
And a bit of the monkey's paw as well. If you make a wish, you might get it, but it might not be in the form that you expect it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also it was a little bit, it got me thinking, why did the box exist? I mean, you could destroy stuff with it, but why did it exist?
Well, that's why I was thinking, that maybe he was wanting to store up all that potential evil to use it, manipulating other things.
Yeah.
But if he's not the Man in Black, then I don't really know what. I'm confused.
Yeah. I will. Hopefully, Rich will clear that up for us, so we can give you all the info about that. One thing also was that I was expecting Castle Rock to be more involved.
Yes, yes.
This is what it was promoted as, a Castle Rock story. Basically, it's taking place in Castle Rock, but it really could just as easily be happening anywhere. There was nothing that made it have to happen in Castle Rock, but it's a little Easter egg for us King fans. So, and maybe we'll see it adapted in the TV show Castle Rock as well. We don't know, but hopefully they'll use the stories that King has written at first and then branch out to other stuff later on. So, did you think it was too short? Would you have wanted more, or was it?
Yeah, I would have wanted more. I think there's a lot of potential for a lot more. I don't know. Maybe the story is the right length, but the connections that it make make me think that it should be a longer story, because if it's referencing the Man in Black and Castle Rock, you're expecting payoffs for these Easter eggs, but they're not really. Nothing is really paid off in that perspective. So I think maybe it would have been better to make it less connected. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, because when it is connected, your mind starts to wander and thinking, how is it connected? What does it mean? Does it affect in the bigger scheme of things and stuff like that? So, and I'm a bit torn about that, because on one hand, I'm like you. I think that it could have been more explained and stuff like that. But on the other hand, it also tickles my imagination that it is connected, and in some way it's has something to do, but we don't know exactly what. And you get to figure those things out a little bit for yourself and stuff like that. So it's both for me. I think definitely that the story we get is the right length, and they manage to tell it in the space of time that they do. I don't feel that there's, except the explanation of Randall Flagg now, I don't think that there's anything missing really in the story, but it raises questions, and you could both have that you get as a reader to think about that for your own, and you could have expanded the story and explained it. So maybe they will do a follow-up on it.
Maybe, or maybe, like you said, maybe it'll be linked into the Castle Rock TV series in some way. I'm curious, at the end, when he takes the box from her, he says he's going to give it to a boy in a little town called Pescadero, about an hour south of San Francisco. Does that ring a bell with you with any other character in Stephen King fiction? I'm trying to find something, but nothing's coming up for me.
No, it does.
But why would they mention that? Or is that just a... It's just a throwaway line, maybe. So not everything has to be an Easter egg, right?
Yeah. They're messing with your mind.
Yeah.
Or it could be something connected to maybe the TV show or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out down the road.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to read it again, because I did read it in a bit of a hurry to get ready for the podcast today. But hopefully that will clear up my main misconception or issue with the book. But overall, I quite enjoyed it. It's always cool to take a moral crisis kind of situation where it's like it becomes it's like Pandora's box. On the one hand, you can have all these treasures, and on the other hand, you can really mess things up badly. So it's the choices that you make in life. You can go down this path and do the right thing, or take the easy way out and really mess things up for yourself and other people as well. So I like that whole idea of the aspect of the book quite a bit. Yeah,
and you should definitely listen to the audiobook the second time, and because she's doing a really good job reading it.
Okay.
You get Music Room as a bonus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's very short. You listen to it. I think it's 2 hours, 2.5 maybe.
Okay.
Something like that. So it's very short.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, or you good?
No, that's it. And hopefully listeners will tell us what they thought about the book. I think this one is, even though some of Cemetery Stan's book are a little bit hard to get, I know that this one has been sold in stores and stuff like that, and they've done a second and third printing, and it's been on the top of lists. So this one shouldn't be any problem getting. And if you don't live in the US, you should probably be able to get it anyway by order. And hopefully some of your local stores might take it home for you, so you don't have to order it for yourself if you don't want to do that. So definitely check this one out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth reading.
The only thing that with these little shorter books is that they aren't translated that often as a regular Stephen King book, if you would call it like that.
Oh.
Here in Sweden, neither Joyland or Colorado Kid has been translated into Swedish. So
interesting.
I don't know if I don't know what the thing is with those books, if they cost as much as a normal book to buy for the publisher, but they can't charge as much for it when they sell it. I don't know. I mean, otherwise a Stephen King book is a Stephen King book. It shouldn't really matter if it's a smaller or a big one. I mean, when it comes to sell a Stephen King book. So
yeah, I don't think...
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't think it's based on the length of the book. I just think it's based on the publisher that publishes it. Like Hard Case Crimes is a smaller publisher, so they just can't maybe afford to get it translated, whereas a bigger company like Scribner can do that.
Yeah, but I think that it's if the Swedish publisher buy it, I think they have to pay for the translation.
Well, I guess they haven't negotiated a deal with a Swedish publisher yet.
Yeah, it's a strange. Thankfully, I read them in English, so it's really not a big thing for me. But I know a lot of Swedish fans that's missing them in their collection and would nothing rather than have them translated.
Yeah. All right, there you go, folks. So that is our review of Gwendy's Button Box, and I can't wait for Richard to respond to Hans's email to see if I'm totally out to lunch on this story. Next episode.
We'll keep you updated in the next podcast.
Yeah. So next episode, we'll get the answer to my question. Plus, we plan to do reviews for the first couple of missed episodes from the TV series that's coming from Spike. And Hans and I can both say that we've watched the pilot and we both enjoyed it. The production values seem to be quite high, and I'm looking forward to seeing more episodes.
Definitely. And I think this one will be interesting, both that some will like it, some will not like it. You and I are positive to seeing the pilot.
Yep.
So I think we will have a lot to talk about, and we will probably have seen maybe 2 or 3 episodes, 3 maybe, when we record the next podcast. So we'll have something to talk about, and hopefully you will all have followed it on Spike, so you can join in.
But until then,
stay safe.
But
stay scared.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The end. Bool.